Okay, so this is our GitHub page, and this is also our repository which you're going to clone in your Linux desktop for your lab. So this is, you can see, we essentially are going to use 4 tools: Ngspice, Sutu, which is part of the CPP SimLite, Magic, and NetGen. Now, except for this one, CPP SimLite, all the other tools are actually already installed in root. So when you get your instance, you will already have access. You just have to set your environment variable. Only this tool here needs to be in your home directory because it's the way the tool is set up. You have to work in the installation directory, which is a little clumsy, but that's what we have to work with. Okay, so I added some links already to the GitHub page. Let me refresh it, make sure I get everything. So if you see for today's session, I added some obviously reading material, and obviously the manual, the Ngspice manual is a good place to start as well. Actually, probably the best place to start is the Hodges book, this, and plus the Kang's book. And then the Appendix A is actually a very good introduction to Spice. It's very, brief. So I actually put the PDF also here, but you guys have the link to the book. So if you go to the resources page in the Hodges link, I actually put the Appendix A here. So if you click this link, you'll get a small tutorial for so this is that brief introduction to Spice. And I think Santanu has already done a excellent job explaining how to get the Spice net list started and all that, but this will give you an overall view as well. So this one is there, and then the 2 chapters and the chapters from the other 3 books also. So you have plenty of material, plus we'll put the videos up and all that. Shouldn't have any issues with resources after this. And a lot of that that there's a 2-page parameters, useful design parameters in that book too. So I actually just took that page and put it here as well. So although the book is copyright, usually when you take a few of the material put for educational purposes, they're okay with it. So kind of taken that little liberty of doing that. There's a link to the reference manual. This is the Ngspice reference manual. So this is the HTML version of it. The PDF version is actually on the repository, and from the Sutu you can access it directly. Actually, I'll show you in a little while. So you can access the HTML version of the Ngspice manual. So if you have any doubts about any commands or anything like that, you can just go here and it's the entire reference manual. So you'll get all your answers you need. So there were some people who were asking, what's the units for the model files? So from this reference file, I just put a direct reference to the Ngspice model. So if you have doubts about oh, that's weird. Yeah, it might take a little while. Okay, so it does go there. So the MOSFET model section in the Ngspice, you can see it explains about all the level 1s and who did it. And you can see actually the level 1 is actually by Hodges. It's that book you're using. That he's from Berkeley, so it started from Berkeley. So the first model was actually from Schimann and Hodges. And if you go browse down below, you can see here there are a lot of parameters here. The BSIM parameters, model parameters, and the level 1 are just a subset of this. So typically they match, like you can see VT0, KP, gamma, phi, lambda. These are the 5 you'll be using for creating the lambda 1. And here you can see these are the units. I think this is a mistake. Should be just volt, not 1 volt. So these are the units. And there are default values, and like Santanu was saying, most of the default values are meaningless. So you have to, give that in the model file. Things like lambda, you can get away with it, but even this, if you don't give a model value, then your simulation convergence, you're going to have a huge problem with that. So yeah, all of these values have some default values, but they're pretty much useless. You have to give values, and with these units here. And I think somebody was asking what is the unit for like W, L, and AS and all that. So those are all meters, but you can use N, P, U as micro and all that, but you don't put meter square or all that. Or you can use the scientific notation, which is E minus 16, E minus 12. So, but the units are meter and meter square is for the WL and P and so on. Okay, so just wanted to show you that. And so now if you go to oh, it's right here. So I have this first section here called Lab on Cloud. So I've added some few instructions, but I thought I'll go through this and go through the video. I mean, go through this live with you. That way, if I'm missing something, it'll be at least there in the video. You can get it. So system requirement, you just need a desktop with an internet connection. You really don't need a whole lot of speed, whole lot of power, because everything is on the browser. Everything is actually on the server. So you actually get a instance on a, so these guys use DigitalOcean. So it's like, you know, Microsoft Azure or AWS. So you actually get a 500 MB, one CPU desktop in the cloud. So all you need to do is access it. And I'll show you, if you have a slow connection, you can tweak the um, access to kind of make it more usable for you if your connection is very bad. I mean, if it is like few kbps, you just can't do anything with it, but you shouldn't need like megabytes of per second data for this thing. It should be pretty light. Up-to-date web browser, preferably Chrome or Chrome based. That's because these guys told me, NAPTI, they told me that that's what they test on. So, but I actually have been using on Mozilla Firefox and the Microsoft Edge, and it's been no problem with that. So, and I tested on Chrome as well. So all browsers should be okay, but preferably Chrome. Okay, so let's start. So first thing is you navigate to this site here. So let me start with another one. So you guys can see this site?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to enlarge it. And so whatever email you gave us, after you get that email, what you do is, first thing you do is you say, forgot your password. Once you do this, then it'll ask you to enter the email ID. Now, the thing is that I tested it now. If you give an email ID which is not registered, it's just not going to tell you anything. I think it's for security purpose. So you want to make sure you put the right email here, because it's going to send a reset a link to your that email address. Okay, but that has to be registered in NAPTI, or otherwise you will not receive anything. So you go through that, you reset your password, make sure you keep your password with you. I mean, you can always come back and reset it, but keep it with you. And after you do that, then you can log in um, with that email and password. Okay, so once you log in, you'll see you'll come to a dashboard like this. Just ignore pretty much everything. We are not doing any courses with them. We're just taking a instance from them. So it's basically not their prime business, but kind of doing us a favor, I guess. So, and if your browser is small, like if I minimize it like this, you see that the left-hand side is not menu is now on the top left corner. So just make sure, if you're uh, if you have a narrow width, I mean a small browser, you have to go to the top left corner and click it. Otherwise, it's on the left-hand side. So once you see this, click on this lab instance. Okay, and once you see this, now if they've started the instance for you, you'll see that this is already green and there's a red here. And I just actually stopped my instance. Because of that, you see that there is no instance yet. So what you do is you hit this play button and wait for it's basically booting your computer now. So the desktop on the cloud, and you can see it's pretty fast. So once you do it, you can see that it's green color now, and the red is again to shut it down. You don't have to. We have given them money for the entire 2-3 weeks. So once you start it, you can just leave it on. So that way, whenever you're logging in, all your desktop, everything is just the way you left it, and you can just keep working. So if you're working regularly, don't shut it down. But your data should remain persistent. I'll find that out now if it is. So there are three options here. Terminal is you just get a text terminal. You can't do any. Uh, you can do Spice, but you can't do plots and all that. There's no graphics here. ID is for programmers, but we're going to use this desktop. So click on the desktop, and once you click on the desktop, you're going to get this no VNC portal like this. Before you click connect, one thing I would suggest is go into your settings. If you have a slow connection, thing you can adjust here is you can reduce the quality and increase the compression level here. So the text and all that will be a little hazy, and the quality, you might have a little bit delay and all that, but that should allow you to work on a low bandwidth connection if you have problems with it. If you don't, just connect straight and go with it. Like I said, it doesn't need a whole lot of bandwidth. Any decent connection is good from a phone. I mean, we did this last year. People were connecting over all sorts of flaky connections, and we had no issues. Okay, so once you click it, you can see this is your desktop now, and you can see the desktop size is bigger than my window. And yeah, just ignore this no session for PID. And first time you log in, you'll also get some clip it, slip it error. Just ignore it, close it. Okay, so if you're on a high resolution desktop or a laptop, you probably see the whole desktop. Otherwise, like me, you're going to see half of it. Just make sure you scroll down. So this is where your menu bar is, and this is a Linux desktop. This is what's called a Debian distribution, which is one of the most popular ones. I think you guys have probably heard about Ubuntu a lot. So Ubuntu is kind of a Debian derivative as well. So it's Debian, and this window manager is called LXDE, which is a really lightweight window manager, because we're doing in a very small computer, so cloud computer, so we need as light as possible. So the first thing you need to do is go click this start button on the very lower left corner, and go to System Tools, and click on LX Terminal. Once you do this, you're going to get this. This is a Unix terminal. So, and the shell is what's called a bash shell. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, just go through. I have a link for Linux and Vim on that GitHub page. Just make sure you go through that. We'll probably do a little review tomorrow, but just to make sure you go through it. Okay. So this is your desktop, and you're in your home directory. So if you do ls, you'll see all your directories here. You can see you have a desktop directory, documents, downloads, music, and this and that. And you see there is this folder SI22, blah, blah, blah. And this is because I've already done the GitHub clone, but what I'll do is, this is a very small file, so I'll just do it again for you guys, but I'll do it in a different directory. So let me move to maybe desktop. Do this in the home directory because we are referencing everything to the home directory. So don't do this clone anywhere else but here. So when I'm in home directory, you can see it says home Saroj. So yours will be whatever home, your first name. And so make sure you do it in the home directory, because we have some environment variables you're going to load. They're all referenced from here. So I'm just temporarily going to go into the desktop directory. Let me just go to the downloads. Um, and what you first need to do, like I said, you're not going to do this in downloads. You're going to do it in your home directory. I have already done it, so I'm just showing you how to do it. So you basically do a git clone of your our GitHub repository, which is, and the link is there in the page here. So you can, where is it? Yeah, so we have gone all the way till here. So first you have to clone the repository, and you type this command, basically git clone, and this whole command. And this is basically the website you are accessing now. That's the same one, and that's the repository we are using as well. Um, just give me a second, guys. So you do git clone https github.com or www.github.com. You can ignore the www. Silicon dash real si slash si 2021 dash 03 dash cmos dash real si, and it should start cloning. So it'll get the entire GitHub repository, and you see it is done. And so when you do ls, you see this directory. And if you go into this directory, you'll see that it's basically it's the same one here, what you've been accessing. So this is the README file, which it does the rendering and shows you in a nice format. You have the docs folder, you have the tools folder, you have this exam BRC BAS RCEDA, which you're going to access the tool. Don't touch any of these. Okay, so this directory which I just went into, the only time you need to go is when I add something or delete something, or something adds something and delete something. We're going to send you a message saying please update your git repo, and you're just going to go into this directory, which is that clone directory, and just to git pull. That's it, right? It says already up to date. Like for example, if I go here, let's say I edited something here, for example, let's say I do some, sorry, so not logged in here. Yeah, never mind. So if I go and make a change here, and then I did a git pull, then your directories and files will automatically get updated. Okay, so this is purely read only. You don't want to touch any of the contents here. If you do, then basically you'll just break it. Okay, so stay out of this directory. Like I said, only time you go in is you go in to update the library. So once you do this, then you're all set. After this, every time we add something, you just go and do a git pull in this directory. Otherwise, you're all set. Okay. And now all you need to do is like, so all the tools are in the root directory. So if I do ls slash project 2020 EDA, this is in the root directory. So you can see all the tools are here. And the only tool which I need to be in my home directory is this um, CPP Sim Lite. This, if you go to tools, CPP Sim Lite, this is where the schematic editor is, and your Python library for accessing the Ngspice and all that is here. Okay. So I'm all set now, except that I need to add some environment variables to my .bash RC. So this is what's called a bash shell. So, all the commands I'm typing, and there is an interpreter which is interpreting all the commands, and that interpreter is called bash. There are different types of shells in Linux, like CSH, SH, TCSH, and so on. So bash is like one of the most popular ones now. So um, there is an initialization file for bash in everyone's home directory. So this is your home directory, but it's a dot file. You don't see the dot file unless you do ls-al. So if you do here, you can see there is this file called .bash rc. Looks like I had this thing open. Just give me a second here. Okay, so I actually have already put this, but that's the only thing you need to add. And I've asked Snapty to actually put this by default. They said they If they get to it by 8 p.m., they will. Otherwise, we have to manually put it. So I've already put this in the instruction. So what you need to do is, if you go to the lab on the cloud section, yeah, here I say in order to get all the environment variables, you append your bash rc with this following. So you can just actually you can't do copy paste. I think there is an option here I need to figure out, but it's small enough you can type it. Okay. So this basically makes sure that you all have all the environment variable sets, which I've already done for you guys. You just need to link it. Okay. So that bash rc eda, this file here, if you open it, so for example, if I open mine, um, bash rcda. So these are the environment variables for all your tools. For Spice, for example, you want to set the installation directory, the binary directory, the installation directory for cppsim, the binary, same thing for Magic and NetGen and so on. So what I did was I actually did this for you guys, put it on the GitHub. So when you put the git pull, it'll automatically be there. So all you have to do is and just add this, sort of 5 lines here. And essentially, you just have to add this one line, but I added this so that, I have a feeling that a lot of you won't do a JIT pull. You'll add this and you'll start doing Ngspice and it'll give you an error and it'll be like, oh, I have an error. So at least I'll get an indication because this will scream saying that, oh, BASRC does not exist. That way I know you made some mistake. Okay. And this process all works once you get in. Like you do a JIT pull, it doesn't work, you made an error in typing, just figure it out, right? Because I've just showed you that it works. So don't type, and once you see an error and you go immediately just jump onto the email or WhatsApp and like, oh, it doesn't work, and then you go to sleep, right? That's typically what I've seen people do. So, like I said, this process I've showed you, it works. So if something you're getting error, just find out what the error is and work through it. And obviously, if it is a real error and you can't get to it, we'll obviously help you. But don't make typo mistake. That's like 99% of the errors. People come in and say, oh, I got this error, it's not working, and they'll wait like 1 week for me, and I go and I look at the error, it'll be saying file name not found, and you can see they've typed in the wrong file name, right? So because this program is not racist at all, so it'll not judge you. If it's working here, it should work for you guys. um, okay, so once you're set, all your environment variables are set. So the first tool you're going to use is Ngspice. So for Ngspice, if you're going to use the shell, you just type Ngspice, and you can see you get a prompt here, Ngspice, and you can load. So I have a small, like a quick instruction here, how to quickly get started. So you can write a small um, code here, and you can see if you have once you have the Ngspice command prompt, you can source your spice file. You have to be in that directory first, and then you can run it. Yeah, I guess I've skipped some steps. You run it and you can plot the output. You can edit it in the shell itself, but avoid doing that because see, you can always have one shell with your Ngspice, then open another shell, right? You can open another window and don't do another window. I just want to do another tab. So you can open another tab, let's say, for example, and so let's say you have your Ngspice on this tab, right? And you go to the same directory, work directory, wherever. Okay, so about work directory, like as I said, don't work in that directory. You make another directory where you want to work, and you can do anything you want, but I would suggest just do a directory called lab, let's say. Sorry, make dir lab, right? So cd lab, and let's say you go, and then you can do make directory Ngspice because we're going to have different labs. So maybe do make directory Ngspice, and here you can do make directory lab one, which is parameter extraction. You go here, and then here you create your little .sp file and all that, and use go to another terminal, start the ngspice. So that way you don't have to edit here. You can, let's say you found an error, you go here, you edit it, and then you go here and run it and so on. Or you can do it in the same one by just exiting and coming back here again and so on. Either ways is fine. Um, whatever you're comfortable with. And then the other tools, obviously the schematic editor is called Su2. If you start Su2, you should get this window. And there is a bit of a bug with this distribution on the LXLE, where if you click left mouse button, you will not get anything. So you have to press shift and then click it, and then if you click it, you'll get schematic and all that. And in this suit too, actually there is a doc folder here, so I put a lot of the manuals I thought you guys will need and removed some of the ones which I thought you want. I'll actually put some other manuals as well, like for example the Ngspice manual. Actually the Ngspice within CPP primer is a good one, but we are not using CPP sim, so a lot of the things will be not valid for us. But you can open this, and so Mike Perot has written a really good um, you know documentation on Ngspice. So this is basically telling you how to load it and all that, but it actually has a nice a tutorial on the Su2 editor as well. But he's going to use this CPP-sim environment, which I decided not to, because it uses a plotter which needs all the tools, which was pain to add it and all that. So so we are not going to be using CPP-sim, but this might give you an idea on the Su2 at least. So it's a good document to look for at least some of the relevant information. Um, and then there's obviously the Ngspice manual, which I was showing you on the web. You can refer that here as well. And I'm going to put that small tutorial on this tab as well. The beginners to Spice from Hodges. I'll put that here as well. And then there's a BSIM 4. We're going to using BSIM 3. That's the model we have, but they're very close. So there is a BSIM 4 manual. So if you want to look at you're looking at the model, and I'll actually put a BSIM 3 here as well. But you're looking at the model and you just absolutely have no idea what one parameter is. You just come here, open it, and find out what that parameter is. And then the SCMOS this is the technology. It's an old scalable technology, half macron technology, and that's what we're going to use to do all our labs. So I put the manual here as well. Explains about this whole technology, what scalable means and all that. And there's design rules, the minimum design rules and all that here as well. um, so it's basically like a PDK document, but a very concise one. You can see it's only 54 pages. And here you can see these are the design rules for all the layers, and we'll get to it when we start doing layout and so on. So yeah, we'll use this mostly, not mostly, only for doing schematic and looking at the docs. We won't be using the CPP sim environment. Okay, so that's that. And then obviously you have magic for the layout. So this is your magic tool. You can, and there are a lot of um, you know if you go to SI tools, no, not here. I think it's in the root project EDA technology. Some of them we might have to bring to the user directory. Go to JDS lib. I go open. Hmm. Oh yeah, you have to load the text file. Anyway, we'll do this when we get to the layout section. And then there's NetGen, obviously, to do LBS. So yeah, there's NetGen. This is to compare the schematic versus the layout. You remember I told you that you have to do essentially two verification at least to send it to the Foundry house. One is the design rule check to make sure all the layer rules are matching. The other one is to make sure that actually to send it to the design fab house, all you need to do is DRC. They don't care about your LVS. The LVS is for us. We just want to make sure that whatever we have laid out is the same thing which is in the schematic. Um, and so for that, we are going to use NetGen. Okay, so that's it. And I'm going to just stop the recording here.